Okay, so this guy left a pretty long comment, which I love. This is what I do the videos for right here, and so I'm going to make a whole nother video responding to this guy. I have not even read it. I've read like the very first part of it, but then I hit read more and I saw how much there was. So I just wanted to quickly, because this guy, put him up and up side to side with people like these. Like, you missed the point he's making. The logic is lost on you. Like, can you expand a little further? Um, Maybe this is true. Highly, I don't really think it's true. I don't. Um, I really want to know what that guy thinks. What logic? I mean, anyway, there wasn't even a lot of logic there. It was just like we were making. Anyway, I'm just gonna read this right here. So I think you're an intelligent young man who will eventually become more conservative with time and continued thought. Um, Maybe this is true. I just want to start right here. Anthony, I actually started out extremely conservative. I grew up in the South. I actually still live in Alabama. So maybe I come back. But if you're coming at this with a thought that like I'm starting off as liberal and I'm going to end up conservative, like I'll have to come back. But maybe I do. From what I gather, you're currently attending university. Yes, generally the university environment is heavily liberal and progressive. Actually, at mine, I go to community college right now. I have some like chronic pain issues, and so I have to stay here in my house. I'm getting a lot better, and next year I'm gonna transfer. I'm gonna go to Auburn, but at my university they're really not. I've had the only progressive liberal professor I had was in chemistry, and he didn't even talk about these sort of things. Um, but at the but and I see how what you're thinking. Like you probably think I was told these things in university, but this is I just started my second year. I so I already had these beliefs. Like I started these beliefs before university, before I wasn't even going to school. I wasn't going to school. I was here in my room, learning and doing all these things on my own, doing my own research. I actually watched Fox News all the time. That was my introduction into politics. Was I sat there with my headaches. That's the chronic issue, and I was bedridden, and I would watch Fox News all day, and that's what really got me into this stuff. Now it's a bit difficult for me to keep up with your thoughts when you started the video. You spoke. I was all over the place. I should have been more concise. You spoke about Matt's opinion on abortion and how outlawing is not in the best interest of women, but then went to a different discussion. It was challenging. So what I was doing there was that I understand that I should have probably let that out. I was just kind of talking about a previous interaction I've had. Like I've spoken to him because he does these TikTok debates. So you can go speak to him if you want to. Just go request up. He'll let you in. And that's what I did before. And yeah, he was talking about like Trump is for women. He's making these silly point like Trump is for women, and all the things he was listening, I was noticing were like things, and he didn't understand. He didn't realize that like look, this is like optics. This is politics. He doesn't really get that. Where it's like all these things that are for women just happen to coincidentally also address like other groups of people, like immigrants. You see what I'm saying? Like it's that Lincoln Riley Act. It would just be it was actually like indirectly about immigrants, things like that. And I said, so I asked him. I said, give me one law or one policy or one anything that he made that was only for women, that didn't actually end up affecting some other groups like trans people or immigrants or whatever. And he couldn't find one, and that's what I was talking about um, at the beginning of my video, and I should have made that a little more clear probably. All right, he says, that said, I assume this is because you're a very bright person who has thoughts whizzing by. It might help to jot down bullet points before hitting the record button. You're right. I probably should it's just that like some people, like actually like one dude in my personal life, I started doing this and he started like making fun of me for it because there are a lot of dudes that don't don't make notes and like don't like, I just feel like I'm reading off of a script. It'd probably just be better though if I'm confusing people because I'm not being, so I'll do that. That's a good advice. I make videos as well, and it's taken me a long time to figure things out. Yeah, I'm still in that stage right now, figuring things out. Anyways, eventually, you turned the conversation towards the part of the video where they spoke about redlining. The problem is that people don't understand the other reasons why certain things happen. For example, some people are against the idea of increased policing in black neighborhoods, and they'll quickly say that the reason for it is systemic racism. The reason it happens is because there's more crime there. People, especially progressive people, progressive white people who want to be the savior of black people, want to find problems where problems do not exist. That is why we have this bright young black man, Matt Nuclear, sharing his own experience, yet is being contested by white people who think his perspective is invalid. See, I feel like I don't want to be come across like and be pointing fingers or whatever, but it seems like you're playing like this race game right now. Like I can't talk to this guy. I don't have the belief that a lot of liberals do, where it's like white people can't speak on racial issues at all. Now I will say that if you're of a certain race and we're talking, it's kind of like women. Like if we're speaking about issues that relate to women, they have more of a say. I'll come to them, especially when it comes to like experiences and like how does it feel. But then once I get the information about how it feels to them, I can make my own, conclusions. And maybe I do have somewhat of a savior complex. I hope I don't. But anyway, and I've made another video on this. I want to I'm gonna link my other channel. Well, no. Well, yeah, I'm probably gonna put it on my other channel. I'm gonna link that one, and I'll just link the video itself, not just the channel. But think about think about why poverty exists, or like why crime exists. It's because of poverty. Like poverty, you can see it's almost, I won't say like 1-to-1. I don't know what the correlation is, but when there's a lot more poverty, there's a lot more crime. Period. And so how is putting more police there going to fix that? Yes, it might help like temporarily and or whatever, and make you feel better or whatever. But and then also when you see like more crime in these neighborhoods, having more police there, that means they report more crimes. It's kind of like I mentioned drugs in the new video I made because he went on Ben Shapiro, and I looked at that video when he was talking to Ben Shapiro, and they made he got a little bit more specific in some areas. It's like with drugs, white people in these suburbs and stuff, they're a little more discreet with it, and then they run into cops a lot less often, and so they're going to be reported less, and like traffic stops whenever they're more likely to be taken in. It's not even, it doesn't have to be like an outward I hate blacks mentality like Matt Nuclear wants to, because just watch the video. I'll explain it a little bit more there, but yeah, it not only does it inflate it, but it doesn't really address the root cause. I agree. I'm not like a defund the police guy. I don't think we should that would probably not be well. I haven't looked into that a lot. I'd be willing to bet money on it though, that's at least temporarily is going to increase crime a good bit. But yeah, the idea that just putting more police there and send more police, it's not really going to address the problems. It's not. It'll just make us use more money, make the government use more money on that, where we could be putting it in other places that really address the causes of it. And he says if a black man says that he believes that his treatment from police officers is identical to the way that the police officers treat white people, do I believe him? I'd say probably yeah. If he says like I haven't, now I gotta get more specific here because I'm going to disagree that like, and it depends. I don't know how many cops to do. I've only seen like 2 cops in my entire life, like actually interaction with, and so some might not be stopped at all. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say, but if the black man comes and tells me that all police officers, treat white people the exact same as black people, then no, I don't believe that. That is untrue. But yeah, with personal experience, like maybe the dude was never had gotten a ticket. Maybe he ran into, if he only saw 3 police officers, it could be the case. It's only 3 people. Maybe those 3 people happen to be really good guys. There are good cops, I believe. Some people say there's like no good cops, and I agree they're part of a bad system that needs change. But like some people, you can't just make generalizations like that. Like some cops are good. A lot of cops, at least they think they're good, and they're trying, and you know what I mean? Maybe they don't actually end up saving their freaking community or from whatever, but that doesn't mean they're bad people. And maybe they do end up, because of their part of the system, they end up making it a little worse for somebody. But you can't blame them. I really don't subscribe to that, and so I don't subscribe to. Hopefully that answers your question. Yes, I'll probably believe his personal experience, but whenever I think you're trying to say that, like, this is Matt Nuclear and he says his treatment from, yeah, but if he says that's how the entire system is, and there's like all cops just treat everyone the same because we voted for a black president, no, that is stupid. I see a duck, I'm gonna call it a duck. Like, that is retarded. That is not true. There's an increasing population of black people who are exhausted with all the progressive talk about racism. They don't believe that the system is out to get them in any way. See, this right here, a system out to get them. That is sort of also a straw man. And again, please go watch the other video. You'll probably see my perspective on that a little more. But yeah, there's no like secret like white layer of people, dressed in robes who are like plotting against the blacks. Like that's not what we're saying. And it's not like explicit like racism where it's just like, I can't stand to see a black in my school, or I can't stand to see a black here, so I'm going to make sure that they go to prison for the rest of their life. It's not that. That's not what it is. They believe there's nothing preventing them from being just as successful as anyone else, especially white people. Everyone knows that there are racist people. Even as a white man, I experience racism towards me since I live near total Mexican City. See that you're right. And if you live like in Mexico, and if Mexico, I haven't studied like Mexico law, or not even law, but just the systems in Mexico. I don't know how they are in the history. I don't know anything about that. But like if you did live in a total Mexican city, and like for some reason the history made it so that like they had some predisposition towards, there were like a bunch of stereotypes that people just end up subscribing to, even if they don't realize it or don't outright say it, then yeah, you'd be a little oppressed. Probably not nearly as much as black people are here. Again, I don't know. I haven't studied it, but I'm sure you do that. But it's just, even though you do, it's still. And again, please go watch the video that I just made, because I kind of show like Mr. Beat. I show his video where he like lays out a lot of stats. And just a lot of them. He goes to 6 different sectors of like education, healthcare, that sort of thing, and he does a lot of different stats. How like whenever it's just every single area, and it's so they have a disadvantage in so many ways, and then we can tie it and look at history and be like, yeah, they were concentrated into areas where there were less, the houses were devalued, things like that, and then that in turn funds their schools, which are undervalued, which creates, a system where like people are more likely to commit crime. Again, doesn't absolve them of any responsibility themselves, of like total responsibility, but yeah, whenever we have a system that makes it so much more likely for X, variable to emerge, as a government, as a society, we need to limit that. I'm not saying that the people that come out of said thing can't change or just are stupid idiots. That would be racist as well, if you just say that, well, these people are just helpless and they're purely that is racist. Like, you can't just treat these people as like nothings. Like, they do have a brain of their own, but it is unfair, period. It is, you have to admit that. It is drastically unfair. It's not even close. Hold on, let me pause when I figure out where I just left off. Aside from that, these black people can see how today most disadvantaged set of people are white people. Yeah, I disagree with that. Set of people are white. You talking about in America? Yeah, I disagree with that. I'm sure that's how he thinks. I don't know if you saw the part in my video where I made a guess, and I am guessing. I've seen this in somebody in my own life. I'm not going to name drop them, but if a black person, okay, they grow up in some sort of area where there's like black people near, or if they grew up around total white people, then that'll probably explain it as well. Like in a private Christian school or something, that will substantially influence how they think, even if they're a black person. Well, again, you can't just like, that's kind of racist if you look at that. You got to look at the environment which they grew up in. Okay, so if he grew up in like a private Christian school, then I didn't expect, and I'm not, it's not like when you say like, look, these black people now they're seeing the truth. What you really need to do is go into like real black culture, like actual, like go into, I don't know, and I'm not saying this is real black culture, but hopefully nobody takes this the wrong way, but go to like inner city projects or something and go talk to people there and get their opinions on this stuff. That would give you, that would, and not just like, oh, well, here's a person whose skin is dark, you know what I mean? But how I think about it, how I feel like this guy is, and this is just, I'm not like gonna, this might be rude to assert, but I feel like he was maybe not entirely bullied, but he's clearly like a smart, like nerd type guy, and he cares about studies, and he's like me. Maybe he was cast out, or maybe not even if he wasn't cast out, just wasn't totally accepted by whatever black group, and that happens a lot where that'll happen, and then they take refuge in like the white. Again, I've seen this in he loves trucks and country music and all that sort of stuff, and he wasn't like that at all, and it sucked. And I'm glad he found his people. I'm so, you know what I'm saying. I'm not hating at all, by the way, at all. But that is a thing that happens. That is a phenomenon that you see in a lot of people. And so a lot of people's politics, as logical and grounded as they think it is really rooted in like social groups and how others make them feel and who they like jive with. And for me, it is like not that at all. I don't have any liberals. I don't know any liberals. I don't know any leftists. I don't. That is not even a lie. I don't know any in real life. But yeah, and I could be wrong about them, but that's just how I think. But anyway, so this is a long response. So yeah, thank you for your comment.